Well, after a little bit of time off and some relaxing time away from YouTube, I really hope you forgive me, I think it is time to bring back some news about Chivalry and, in a lesser extent, Mordhau. This is because the Chivalry developers have finally spoken out about what they think about Mordhau and their reaction to the Epic Store, and a lot of what people have been saying, including me in the videos and basically all the comments that people have said about Chivalry 2. They address this in their latest article. So without further ado, I'm going to be going through it. I've picked out the most exciting bits. It's quite a long article, so especially for you know, I picked out the most exciting bits and I'm going to put them in this video. So sit back, relax and enjoy tonight's video on the Chivalry 2 developers speaking out about Mordhau and the Epic Games Store. First off, we get told a little bit about the game. Basically, what we had to go off before was just the announcement trailer, but the team objective mode is back and better than ever according to the developers of Chivalry 2. That was the game mode where you had points that you had to go in a more linear experience where you went from point to point, one side attacking more and the other side defending. But they have stated the castle that we've seen in the announcement trailer, which does look pretty impressive, and I can't lie, these sieges do look pretty cool, but it will actually be the smallest castle in the game, which, whether this is just a marketing ploy and the other castles are just slightly bigger, or whether they're massively bigger, that only time will tell. But if this truly is the smallest castle in the game, I'm definitely looking forward to what they can bring it out, and bigger and better is really the theme that they've been going through, especially in this article talking about what they have coming up soon. I mean, in a single map, they're quoted, you might be killing peasants, burning houses, smashing gates down with a battering ram, and killing kings or nobles, which kind of confirms what I said in my last video when I was saying how you might be going from attacking a village and one team will have to defend that, but then if they lose it, then you'll have to push forward to, you'll then be killing and trying to siege that castle, and the other team will have to pull back, and this sort of confirms what I speculated last time. So I'm really excited to see what they can bring out, and especially if that was the smaller map, what we can see from the bigger ones coming up later. But I doubt they'll tease that before the release, maybe one or two, but I doubt they'll tease many more new maps before the release. Now it goes on to the combat system, which was a talking point of my previous video, and a lot of reactions have been pretty negative towards the combat system. People saying it looks pretty much like the original Chivalry, how it was clunky, how it really wasn't very nice to play with, and when we saw the release trailer for Chivalry 2, it looked pretty much the same. I mean, there was even a shot of someone swiping with a sword and their head popping off before it even hit them, which is quite impressive to get that wrong, and even more so to then put it in your announcement trailer. But they have addressed this. They've said that when they want to properly reveal the combat system, it will absolutely be worth the wait. They've sort of said that that trailer that they announced Chivalry 2 with at E3 was just a teaser, which, yeah, we get that's a teaser, but I'm not quite sure why you wouldn't put your best combat in that. If it's a teaser, you sort of want to get people really excited for the game, and unfortunately I really think that teaser has done the opposite. It showed people the game exists, which is the first step of a teaser, but the other step of a teaser is to get people excited, and unfortunately they put a combat system in that trailer that they say isn't their final combat system, which it might well be, but why would you put your weaker combat system or your not finished bits in the thing that's supposed to get people ready and excited for a game? That doesn't really make sense to me, but at least they have addressed this and they have said that yes, it will get better. Unfortunately, I don't think they expected people to pick it apart, but this is the internet, this is what we do. It's sort of my job to pick apart trailers and look at new news in medieval games, so I can't really apologise. Following on from that, it has been confirmed Chivalry 2 has a brand new not only combat system, but also animation system. I mean, there's some cool new moves that you're able to do. One of them is, I do love this, a spear plant drop kick, as they call it. And as you can see in this gif, they plant their spear in the ground, sort of use it as a pole vault, and get a double-sided kick on this fully armored knight. I mean, if there's more things like this, I will be 100% down to playing and messing around with this, because I know it's stupid, I know it's silly, but isn't that half of the point of the Chivalry games, to get those stupid, silly moves in there? I mean, furthermore, you're able to, of course, chop off limbs, things like that. You have more enhanced movesets over your weapons now. It will be sort of catering towards the funny side of it, being able to drop kick. There'll be things like hitting people with chickens and rocks and things like that, but they'll also be catering to the veterans of the game. There'll be more control over your weapons, there'll be more variety of weapons, and better animations and combat systems to go with that. Of course, you'll be able to chop off limbs, but you can also get your limbs chopped off, and if you manage to still fight and live, you can try and punch someone with one arm, you know, a bit like you can in Mordhau before you bleed out. Also knocking people to the ground, and then you can stab them once they're on the ground as well. And I just wanted to quickly add, Chivalry 2, the developers themselves call it an FPS. Now, back in my other video when I was comparing the original Chivalry to Mordhau, people were saying, "Oh, Resonant, Mordhau and Chivalry aren't FPS games, they don't have shooting in them." Well, even the developers call themselves FPS, because one, both do have shooting in them. What are you talking about? And two, FPS is more of an encompassing name for a first-person battle game anyway, whether it is with guns or bow and arrows. You'll be able to grab a pitchfork or shovels or chickens or rocks, as I mentioned, some really cool funny stuff, but trying to get that balance between funny and also quite gritty and harsh, that's something that's going to be a challenge to get that tone right. Now, anyone, if you're interested about the story, it will be continuing the struggle between the Agatha Knight and the Mason Order, like in Chivalry 1, but it is set 20 years after the event. Not that there is a ton of story in these games, but it's nice to have some background and lore, because I know a lot of people do enjoy that sort of thing. This is the bit you've all been waiting for, them talking out about Mordhau and the criticisms to Epic Games. Now, they have said that they welcome competition amongst the melee genre, and I mean, it's obvious that they're talking about Mordhau here, because they've said that there's a few titles that have been out, but really I can't think of any titles that have been anything like Chivalry, or at least given it any sort of competition until Mordhau came out. So I feel like this is 100% without actually naming Mordhau. I think it's pretty clear, since, I mean, all the comments on their announcement trailer were like, I swear we already had Mordhau, because I feel like Mordhau took what Chivalry did and has done it a ton better. But the Chivalry devs have fired back. They have said what they're working on is far more ambitious than what anyone else has brought out. So, at the moment, they are confident that Chivalry 2 will take what Mordhau has done and shove it into the... Well, not really like that, but they are saying what they're working on is a lot more ambitious. It's not just a moderate update like I said it could be from Chivalry. It sort of looked from the announcement trailer just an update from the original Chivalry, but they are assuring us that it is not, and it is a true evolution of the genre. Now, that is some big words from these developers, saying it's the next true evolution of the whole genre, meaning that not just an evolution of their previous game Chivalry, but everything in that genre, which includes Mordhau. So whether this can not just improve, but evolutionize the genre that I think Mordhau is the king of at the moment, I guess only time will tell with that one. Please give me your comments on what you think. Obviously, this is their words, and they can only say to try and promote their game what they can, and we can only think what we think at the moment, because there's no real proof to this, because the game isn't out yet. But I think both sides should probably hold back final judgments. I wouldn't go and say that there's no way they can do it, because we have no idea. They're the ones that have the game, so maybe they're just really going to try and push their game like that, or maybe they genuinely believe that this is what they have done and that they can truly evolutionize the genre. But let's talk about Epic Games. Epic Games was the biggest controversy with the release of Chivalry 2. I feel like if it was just a release and announcement and things, people wouldn't be too fussed if it was on Steam like the others, but it's not. After 1 year, it will be available on other PC platforms like Steam, but it's starting on Epic Games for that 12 months, and they have stated they do realise that Chivalry fans aren't happy about it. But they have said that this is for the best possible outcome for Chivalry 2, and now this is where they go on to justify it. But they justify it in a way that doesn't really make sense to me, because this is probably the worst statement I think you could possibly put out about the Epic Games Store and try to justify yourself launching on it. They've said, "We would never have considered launching on the Epic Games Store if we thought the store we will launch on will be anything like the version it is today. I'm sorry, but if you're trying to justify yourself launching solely on the Epic Games Store to start with, why would you try and back yourself up with a statement like that? Because all they're saying here is that they agree that the Epic Games Store is not great. They agree that it is terrible, but they're saying that they'll hope it will get better in the future, or they're saying, you know, they know it will get better in the future. I don't know how they know that. They did give the roadmap for Epic Games Store, but that it completely does not relate to anything. That it's just been like, oh, we'll add more currencies or add modding support. That's not the problems people have with the Epic Games Store, is how it is run and the people behind it. So saying that, yeah, we get it's a bad store, but we're sure it'll be fine in the future, is not really a great excuse. Now, on the other side of this, I get it. I mean, most likely they've been forced to use the Epic Games Store, not by anyone else, but just by budget constraints. I mean, a game is very expensive to make, and for Torn Banner Studios, who had Chivalry, which, yes, was successful, and then Mirage Arcane Warfare, which was probably going to be their next big thing that really gave them the budget for Chivalry 2, was an absolute flop. So they won't have the budget to make Chivalry 2 without Epic Games Store. And this sort of proves it by their next paragraph, where it goes on to explain how it wouldn't have been possible without the partnership of Epic Games, meaning that Epic Games gave them the money in order to make that big budget game, because they have said bigger, better, and no compromises. And I do feel without the Epic Games Store, that would not be possible. Whether you think that justifies it, or whether you think they should have just gone onto Steam and made a smaller scale game, that's for you to decide, and I'd love to read your comments down below on this matter. But that's pretty much it for the article. I'll be bringing you more updates if anything gets changed in the future. But thank you so much for watching, guys, and until then, I will see you in the next one.